All right, diving in. You guys wanted us to take a closer look at the new Mac Mini. Not just the specs, but, really what it's all about.
And what's the substance beyond the hype, right? Is this really a big deal? Or is Apple just, spinning things as they always do?
We've got Apple's official page pulled up. But honestly, the first thing that jumps out, it's tiny.
Right?
Like really tiny.
Oh, yeah.
5 by 5 inches, they say.
Oh, yeah.
Is that, can you even picture that?
It's wild, honestly. Think of it like a really thick paperback book just lying flat.
Oh, wow.
That's the whole computer.
That's crazy. So, portability is kind of obvious. But what else does that unlock?
I mean, just in terms of where you can put it, under desks, mounted behind a monitor, stuff we've never really considered with a Mac Mini before.
That's true. You never thought of it as a space-saving kind of thing.
Right. Totally changes the game.
Okay, so they're calling it lives large. But is that just about the impact of its small size? Or does the performance live up to that too?
Well, that comes down to the chips, the M4 and the M4 Pro. And these aren't just baby steps forward.
Okay, good. Yeah. Because honestly, sometimes those chip upgrades, they sound impressive on paper, but you don't actually feel it.
Exactly. But the M4, even the base model, most users, it'll be a huge GE jump from older Mac Minis.
But the Pro, that's the one that's got people talking.
Yeah, that's where they're going for the Pro users.
That power user who need that extra oomph.
Who need it, but want it in this tiny package.
So what is it about the Pro that makes it so capable?
Well, we're talking up to 12 CPU cores, 19 GPU cores.
Whoa.
And then the unified memory. It's a big deal. Everything accesses the same pool of memory, so no more bottlenecks.
Okay, see, now that's the stuff I like to hear.
Right.
But I always want to know, what does that mean for me in my everyday use?
Right, good point. Yeah. So Apple's throwing around these numbers like 7.2 times faster photo editing.
Yeah, 7.2 times faster. I mean, is that noticeable?
Oh, it is. Let's say you're editing a bunch of raw images.
Okay.
High-res stuff. On the old Intel Mac Mini, you'd be waiting minutes for some edits to render with the M4.
Okay, now that I can appreciate.
It's time. Back in your day, you're actually creating, not just staring at a progress bar.
Right. Now, hold on. Got to ask about the gamers out there. Because I saw Apple talking about ray tracing. Is this thing secretly a gaming beast?
It's definitely capable. I mean, it's not going to replace a high-end gaming PC.
Okay, fair enough.
But the M4 Pro's GPU, plus the dedicated ray tracing hardware that makes a difference, smoother frame rates, more detail in games that support it.
They even showed, what was it, Mist running on it?
Yeah, that's amazing.
All right, so size, power. What other tricks does this thing have up its sleeve? Because I'm seeing Apple Intelligence mentioned. What is that, like Siri's smarter cousin or something?
Haha, kind of. It's more like a bunch of AI features built right into macOS.
Okay.
Now, before you tune out at the word AI, hear me out.
Okay.
This isn't about AI replacing you. It's about augmenting what you already do.
All right. I'm listening. But you got to give me an example that'll make me go, whoa, I need that.
All right, challenge accepted. Picture this. You're writing an email. An important one. Lots of back and forth. To get it just right,
been there.
Apple Intelligence can analyze the tone, suggest rephrases to be clearer, more persuasive even. Or, if the email thread gets super long, it can summarize the key points for you.
Whoa. Okay, that's actually useful. So it's like having a superpowered editor.
Exactly.
Is like on call all the time.
And that's just one example. There's Image Playground for creating visuals from text descriptions, smarter photo search using natural language.
Yeah.
But the best part,
okay, hit me.
It all happens on device.
So no data being sent to the cloud.
Nope.
It's huge for privacy.
Huge.
Okay, color me intrigued. This Apple Intelligence thing, we need to dive into that more.
Oh, we will. But it really ties back to that lives large idea. It's not just about the physical size. It's about Apple cramming in features you wouldn't expect.
Right. Like pushing the boundaries of what we think a desktop can do.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, it's small, but it's not plain small.
Not at all.
All right, well, before we get too carried away, let's talk about another way that Apple's pushing limits here. Sustainability. They're calling this the first carbon neutral Mac. And I got to know how they pulled that off.
Yeah, that's a bold claim for sure, carbon neutral. But they've actually approached it from a bunch of different angles. First off, the Mac Mini uses a ton of recycled materials.
Okay.
The aluminum enclosure, even some of the elements in the chips themselves.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the materials going into it. But what about the energy to actually make this thing. That's got to be a huge carbon footprint, right?
That's where the renewable energy comes in. Apple's not just offsetting their carbon use. They're powering production with solar, wind, you name it. And they're even looking at the logistics, optimizing shipping routes, using more efficient transportation.
So they're thinking about the whole chain, from factory to user. All right, I gotta admit, I'm impressed. But let's be real. Most people aren't buying a Mac Mini just because it's eco-friendly. So let's talk about actually USing this thing.
Yeah, let's get into the experience.
And that starts with Mac OS, right?
Absolutely.
You mentioned earlier that iPhone integration is a big part of this.
It's key to Apple's whole strategy.
So, paint me a picture here. I'm at my desk, Mac Mini's humming along. How does my iPhone suddenly become part of that?
Well, think of it like this. Your iPhone basically becomes an extension of the Mac Mini. So you can take calls and reply to texts right from your Mac. Use your iPhone's camera as a high-quality webcam. Even sign documents with Apple Pencil on your iPad. And it just appears on your Mac instantly.
So it's all about breaking down the walls between devices.
Exactly.
Okay, I can definitely see the appeal there, especially for people who are already all in on Apple stuff. But what about folks with existing setups? Like, I've got my monitor, my keyboard, my mouse. Does the Mac Mini play nice with others? Or is it all about Apple-branded accessories?
No, it's actually super flexible in that regard.
Good.
You can absolutely use your own peripherals.
Okay, good to know.
Want a mechanical keyboard? Go for it. Prefer a specific ultra-wide monitor? No problem.
Nice.
Apple offers the Studio display and their own input devices. But they're not forcing you down that path.
I like options.
Options are good.
Speaking of options, you mentioned customization earlier.
Oh, yeah.
How granular does that get? Can I basically build a bespoke Mac Mini?
Pretty much.
Nice.
You can choose between the M4 and M4 Pro, bump up the RAM if you need to, more storage for big files. It goes way beyond just picking a color.
Okay, so it's about really matching the hardware to what you do.
Exactly.
Whether you're a coder or a designer or whatever.
Whatever your workflow is.
That's pretty cool. Not a lot of pre-built systems give you that level of control.
It's a nice touch.
All right, but I want to circle back to something that really caught my attention, this Apple Intelligence thing. You gave us a taste with that email example, but what other tricks does it have?
Let's talk about Image Playground.
Okay.
Because this one is kind of mind-blowing. Imagine generating images based on text prompts.
Wait, like AI art?
Basically,
So we're talking like basic shapes and clip art here? Or can it create something actually unique?
it uses machine learning to create original artwork. You can specify the style, the mood, even pull in elements from your photos library
Why?
to make a truly personalized image.
Okay, so you could use this for
What?
brainstorming, mood boards,
Exactly.
even just messing around, exploring ideas.
It's a powerful tool.
Okay, I'm starting to see the potential here. But let's say I'm not an artist or a designer. Does Apple Intelligence offer anything for, the more practical side of things?
Oh, absolutely. Let's say you're trying to find a specific photo buried in thousands of others.
Happens all the time.
Instead of scrolling forever,
Yeah.
you can just type in a description.
A photo of my dog at the beach.
Exactly.
And it'll just find it.
It'll find it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Go more digging through albums for hours.
It's about making things easier.
Okay, I'm liking this Apple Intelligence thing more and more.
It's more than just a gimmick.
It actually seems like a genuine attempt to make our tech work smarter,
That's the goal.
not harder.
Right.
So we've covered a lot.
Yeah.
Size, performance, Apple Intelligence, even sustainability. What's the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think it's this. The Mac Mini might be small, but it shows that Apple still cares about packing powerful tech into elegant, user-friendly packages.
It's not just about specs on a sheet.
Exactly.
It's about how those specs translate to real-world benefits. It's about the experience.
It's all about the experience.
And that experience seems designed to be intuitive, seamless, maybe even a bit magical at times.
Yeah, there's a bit of magic there.
And that lives large tagline. It's more than just marketing fluff.
It really is.
This tiny machine can impact your work, your creativity, even your daily life.
In ways you might not expect.
I think we've successfully debunked the myth that the Mac Mini is just an entry-level Mac.
It's so much more than that.
It's a powerhouse in disguise.
Yeah, ready to tackle anything you throw at it.
And it fits right into your existing setup.
Seamlessly.
So,
Yeah.
For our listeners out there, as you explore this tiny but mighty machine, remember this: the only limit is your imagination. And maybe your desk space, but mostly your imagination. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
You know, it's funny you should mention Mac OS because you were talking earlier about that whole iPhone integration thing.
Right.
And that's a big part of what Apple's doing here.
So it's not just about the Mac Mini itself.
No, it's about how it fits into that whole Apple ecosystem you've already got going on.
Okay, so paint me a picture. I'm sitting at my desk, Mac Mini's doing its thing. How does my iPhone suddenly become essential to that whole setup?
Well, imagine you're taking calls, replying to texts, all right, from your Mac, or you're on a video call and you're using your iPhone's camera as a webcam.
Oh, okay.
A really high quality one at that. You could even be signing documents on your iPad with Apple Pencil, and it just shows up on your Mac instantly.
So it's about, I don't know, like erasing the lines between all these devices.
Yeah, exactly.
Making them work together seamlessly.
That's the whole idea.
Okay, I'm seeing the appeal. Especially if you're already using a bunch of Apple products.
Right.
But what about people with existing setups? Like, I've got my own monitor, my favorite keyboard and mouse.
Right.
Do I have to use Apple stuff?
Not at all. That's one of the great things about the Mac Mini.
Okay, good.
It's super flexible.
That's good.
You can absolutely use your own peripherals.
Okay.
If you're attached to that mechanical keyboard. Or you need a specific ultra-wide monitor, go for it.
So Apple's not trying to lock you into their ecosystem.
Not in that way. No.
They're giving you options.
Options are good.
Speaking of options, you mentioned customization before.
Oh, yeah.
How far does that actually go? Can I really build a Mac Mini that's like tailor-made for me?
Pretty much. You can choose between the M4 and M4 Pro, obviously. You can upgrade the RAM, get more storage if you need it. It's not just about picking a color.
It's about matching the hardware to your actual workflow.
Precisely.
Whether you're a video editor or a musician or...
Yeah, whoever you are.
That's pretty awesome. You don't see that level of customization in a lot of pre-built systems.
It's definitely a plus.
All right. But I want to come back to something that really piqued my interest. This Apple Intelligence thing. We talked about the email example. But what else can this thing do?
Well, let's talk about Image Playground.
Okay.
Because this one is just, it's kind of wild, honestly.
All right. I'm intrigued.
Imagine being able to generate images just from text prompts.
Wait, so like AI art?
Essentially, yeah.
So is it just spitting out basic shapes and stuff? Or is it actually creating something unique?
No, it's using machine learning to create original artwork. You can actually specify the style you want, the mood even. You can even pull in elements from your own photos library.
To make something truly personalized.
Exactly.
Okay, so you could use this for like mood boards or
You go.
brainstorming.
Absolutely. Or just for fun, exploring different visual ideas.
It's like having a built-in, I don't know, art partner or something.
In a way, yeah.
That's pretty cool. But let's say I'm not an artist or a designer. Does Apple Intelligence offer anything for,
Yeah.
us regular folks?
Oh, yeah, tons of stuff. Think about photo management, for example. I know how it is.
You've got thousands of photos.
Yeah.
And you're trying to find that one specific shot.
Yeah.
And you're scrolling and scrolling.
Well, with Apple Intelligence, you can just type in a description.
The photo's my cat wearing a hat.
Exactly.
And it'll just find them.
It'll find
No
them.
more endless scrolling.
Makes life a lot easier.
Okay, this Apple Intelligence thing is growing on me.
It's really quite impressive.
It feels like a genuine attempt to make our tech work smarter,
That's the whole point.
not harder.
Right.
All right, well, we've covered a lot of ground here. Size, performance, Apple Intelligence, even sustainability. But before we wrap up, I want to touch on something that I think ties everything together. The accessories and how they enhance this whole ecosystem Apple is building. We were talking about the studio display earlier. And I mean, it's not strictly necessary, but seeing it paired with the Mac Mini, it really makes you think about this whole ecosystem idea.
It's like they were made for each other.
Right.
The colors, the design, the way it integrates with macOS, it elevates the whole experience.
I gotta admit, it's tempting. But let's be real, not everyone has the budget for a studio display, or the desk space for that matter. So what about someone who's thinking, I just want a capable machine, I'll stick with my current monitor for now?
Totally valid. And that's the beauty of the Mac Mini.
Yeah,
You've got options.
my mic options.
Plug it into your existing setup, works perfectly fine.
Okay, good.
Then later on, if you decide to upgrade your display, the Mac Mini is ready.
Flexibility is key. So we've covered a lot. The size, the performance, Apple Intelligence, even sustainability. If there's one thing you want our listeners to take away from this, what would it be?
I think it's this. The Mac Mini might be small, but it shows that Apple is still all about powerful technology in an elegant package.
Like them. They haven't lost sight of that.
No, not at all.
It's easy to get caught up in the specs,
Oh, yeah.
but ultimately, it's about how those specs actually benefit the user
It's all about the experience.
and that experience.
Right.
With the Mac Mini, it seems designed to be intuitive, seamless, maybe even a little magical at times.
There's definitely a bit of magic there.
And that lives large tagline. It's more than just marketing, I think.
I think so too.
This little machine can really impact your work, your creativity,
Even your daily life.
in ways you might not expect.
Yeah.
We've officially debunked the myth that the Mac Mini is just an entry-level Mac,
It's a powerhouse
hidden in plain sight.
waiting to be unleashed.
And the best part is, it adapts to you.
Yeah.
Whether you're a pro or a student, or just someone who wants a great computer.
It's got you covered.
Well, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about.
I hope so.
This has been a really interesting deep dive.
It has.
Even for someone like me who, I thought I knew the Mac Mini pretty well.
There's always something new to learn.
That's the truth.
Apple's always pushing the boundaries.
So for our listeners out there, as you're exploring the possibilities of this tiny but mighty machine, remember, the only limit is your imagination. And maybe your desk space. But mostly your imagination. Thanks for joining us on this deep